So as a person who has a YouTube channel, obviously, but moreover one that puts out gaming content, I wanted to address what I may as well just refer to as the YouTube copyright apocalypse. Now, admittedly, that may be a bit of an overdramatic title for it. However, this past week, so many channels out there, gaming, Let's Play in particular, have been faced with such a shitty situation. In some cases, channels having hundreds of their videos claimed by third-party content ID matches. Now, you may be wondering about myself. I've been relatively unimpacted. However, I consider myself extremely lucky. I do not take that for granted. And obviously, I've experienced my share of copyright disappointment in the past, with the Minecraft style thing in particular. And I sympathize greatly with everyone who has been impacted by it. You may have seen videos on the topic from other channels you follow. Some of the people you're subscribed to may have been impacted by it themselves. And it just kind of sucks all around. So hopefully I can provide you with a bit more insight as to what's been going on, why the changes may have been implemented, and how they may affect channels going on into the future. So to begin with, if you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, this is the first you're hearing of it, let me give you some background so you have a better idea of what's going on, get you up to speed. So I'll start off with the what, so facts first, move into the why, which will be a little bit of speculation on my end as to why these changes may have been put into play, and then finish up with my thoughts on the matter. So let's start off with facts first, as I was saying. So this past Monday, YouTube rolled out a policy change to its MCNs. MCN stands for Multi-Channel Network. There are a bunch of these on YouTube. They're companies that conglomerate a bunch of channels under one CMS umbrella. CMS stands for Content Management System. So many acronyms. I'm sorry. Anyway, in the eyes of the creators who join these networks, generally, the reason they join them is to get easier monetization that's not subject to YouTube's internal review, and also to get additional support because YouTube is generally pretty hands-off in the support department, and just help overall in growing their YouTube channel. So unfortunately, as of this past Monday, what the policy change did is for many channels in these networks, their videos were now subject to copyright and content ID claims. So that caused, in some cases, for gaming channels, hundreds of these people's videos to get third-party matches, and it just becomes a whole hassle to get these claims resolved, even though some of them are completely bogus. So let me back up a little bit further and explain to you how things worked before this policy change was rolled out, so you have something to compare it to, so you know why it's such a terrible thing. So in the past, since these networks have existed, as part of one, when you upload your video, you essentially get to check a checkbox, and then when you upload, the video is claimed in your name under the network's name, whoever in particular, but it basically gives you instant monetization on the video, and then you're also your claim takes precedence over any content ID sweeps. So even if your video, say, matched a particular song, particular movie, something like that, because you're part of a network, your claim would still take precedence, so it wouldn't get third-party flagged content ID matched by the automated system. What would be required in order for a third-party match to come into play is for a representative from some copyright holder to actually find your video and apply a claim themselves, which is what happened in the case of Minecraft style. So what happened this past Monday is that a change was rolled out where networks have to place their partners in one of two categories, either a managed partner, where nothing seems to change, or an affiliate. And most of the networks are placing the majority of their channels in the affiliates because for anyone under the managed channel category, they have to take copyright responsibility for them. So if they receive a strike, that strike goes towards the network. So the networks are very hesitant to put people in the managed channel category. So for everyone as an affiliate, now it more or less works as if they were never in a network to begin with. So now the claim they put on their videos when they upload no longer takes precedence over content ID. So if their video matches something in YouTube's database that's had a bunch of files sent in by copyright holders, then their video is automatically claimed. So people who have had videos up for years that have been unaffected, all of a sudden they're getting claims left and right, and especially gaming Let's Play channels, because with cutscenes, it's a very easy way for content ID to match a video to a database file, so on and so forth. It also seems to be an issue with gaming music, because many of the compositions that are in video games are also stored in YouTube's Content ID library, and therefore it's a fairly easy match in some cases. So that's what's happened, and obviously it's just a not very good thing. So now let me get into the speculation as to why I think this may have happened. Again, what I'm saying here may not be 100% truthful. It seems logical to me what I've sort of worked out. So in the past, with the way networks worked and the idea that Content ID would sort of swim below networks' claims would take precedence over Content ID. There were people who more or less had the ability to say, I'm just going to upload this movie and I'm going to monetize it. And because Content ID isn't going to flag this down, I should be fine. So obviously there were people who had the lack of common sense to think that is a good idea. So because of this, lots of studios were not exactly happy with the way that YouTube's networks were going about doing things, how they were relatively unchecked in the eyes of these studios, mostly music. And so as of a few months ago, one of the major YouTube networks called Fullscreen got sued by the National Music Publishers Association. I think that's the correct company. They got sued by some music publishing group, and I didn't really end up hearing much on the topic after the initial articles saying they were getting sued. There wasn't much follow-up with what exactly the settlement was, so on and so forth. So I imagine that sort of behind closed doors, part of the settlement to that lawsuit is that YouTube was forced to crack down on these networks. So this is a change that is actually going to lose YouTube money. And despite the fact that YouTube has done many things in the past that are questionable, many site changes that don't seem to benefit the content creators so much, they're not in the business of shooting themselves in the foot and losing themselves money. So for a change like this, it would take someone forcing their hand, and that's why I think it was as a result of this lawsuit, and if not this lawsuit in particular, just continued pressure from the music studios out there, movies, so on and so forth, all of the big entities that are knocking on their door, or pounding on their door, I should say. So that's why I think this change was put into play. However, at the same time, I don't think that it is the right change to have made. I agree that a reform was going to take place at some point or another. There was going to be a crackdown. There were too many people doing stupid things, and at some point, something was going to be done about that. However, the way it has been done, it's gone from one complete extreme to the other, to where, well, on one side, people were just able to upload and monetize songs unchecked unless someone from the studio found it. Now it's that even people who have the right to be doing these things by fair use, or game studios want them to be doing these, they're getting matched and having their videos claimed anyway. So what's happened now is that I'll talk about gaming in particular, because obviously that's what many of you guys watch. I don't know so much on the music side of things. I assume there are probably many music channels that have been impacted as well. I just don't so much follow that side of YouTube, so I haven't heard as much about it. But as far as gaming goes, many game studios, game developers, publishers, so on and so forth, want YouTubers to play their games. They actively request that YouTubers play their games. The exceptions being A, Nintendo, and B, if you were to just upload cutscenes and spoilers alone without the context of a full Let's Play, then that can create some tension as well. And that's something that most people don't do. And if people do it, they're dumb, and they shouldn't do it. You shouldn't just upload something that you had absolutely no hand in whatsoever. But for the most part, game developers and publishers want people to upload videos on their games because it provides free promotion for their games. Take Minecraft, for example. I do not believe that Minecraft would be as big of a thing as it is today were it not for all the people playing it on YouTube these past several years. So under that model, lots of game developers view it the same way, and they're like, please play our games. It really helps us out. It's mutually beneficial. You get ad revenue on your videos, we get promotion. It's a win-win situation all around. The only thing that most game developers don't want you to do is put your content behind a paywall. Most of them do not allow that, but they do in their terms of service say, hey, you can monetize your content on YouTube, no problem, because it helps us. So the other issue with Content ID is it's not even 100% accurate. There are times when original songs get flagged for something that is completely unrelated to them, or by a party that really has absolutely no claim to the content they claim to be claiming. So that's kind of a major issue. And on top of that, even in the cases where the Content ID algorithm is actually detecting an accurate match, it doesn't know what fair use is. It doesn't know when something is a review and therefore protected by fair use. It doesn't know when something is parody and therefore protected by fair use. It's a robot. It's an algorithm. It doesn't have the ability to make these sorts of calls. So it basically, if your video has a match in it, and what's been the case in many of these gaming channels is that despite the fact that these publishers don't want you to have your content claimed, because these files have been submitted to the Content ID system by the music publishers, in some cases that have licensed the music to the game, it's registering matches anyway, and it's causing these third-party claims to come into play, despite the fact that the game developers and publishers do not want that to happen. So the only exception to that is if you are actually, say, for example, with Grand Theft Auto 5, if you have the music turned on in the game, that music is licensed only to be used in the game and not on YouTube videos, so that would create an issue. But for music that's built specifically for certain games by those developers and publishers, despite the fact that they might have content submitted to YouTube's Content ID library, in most cases, they don't actually want that to be ringing third-party matches on people's videos. So this change, there was very little communication about it. So many copyright holders, if they didn't want people to have a bunch of third-party matches coming onto their videos from them, they just didn't have time to change how they had their CMS set up to prevent this. So another issue with the copyright Content ID system on YouTube is that the burden of proof is on the uploader rather than the copyright holder. So if our legal system worked that way, then it would be like someone could come to me and the police and say, you know that Jordan guy? Yeah, he robbed me. And I'd be like, well, I don't even know you. What are you talking about? And the police would be like, oh, he robbed you. Oh, well, off he goes to jail. No proof necessary. And then it would be up to me to prove that I didn't rob said person. And despite the fact that it sounds silly, that might actually be very difficult to do. So it's a really backwards system to have, and the burden of proof should be on the copyright holder and not the uploader, because in many cases with Content ID, it's wrongfully accusing someone, and then that person has to prove that they're being wrongfully accused, and in many cases, it just doesn't work out very well. So the other issue with the Content ID system is even in the event of an accurate match, it's an all or nothing black and white thing. So either it can put all the revenue, it can send all the revenue to the claimant, or if the person who uploaded the video successfully disputes the claim, all the revenue goes back to them. There's no intermediate. There's no option for a revenue share. So it would be, I saw a good analogy for this by Tryhard Ninja on Twitter the other day. It would be, so in the event of something where you have, say, a 10-minute video, and then 15 seconds of that video you use a song. It's fair use, but it gets claimed anyway. And for 100% of the revenue, no less, on that video, it would be like someone coming into your house, they bought a burger from somewhere, and then they're like, oh, I forgot to get ketchup at the restaurant. Can I borrow some of your ketchup? So I lend them some of my ketchup, and then I say, sorry, your burger is mine, and I eat it because I gave them some ketchup, despite the fact that they purchased the burger. So you see how that analogy works. I made a 10-minute video. I used a 15-second clip of audio, yet 100% of that video's revenue is going to that party. What? How does that make any sense whatsoever? While I agree that that party may be entitled to something. It's not 100%. But the problem is with YouTube's Content ID system, there is no option for anything else. So, yeah, what's up with that? Another issue, kind of just listing off issues here. I have a little note sheet in front of me here. Even if a claim is completely incorrect, if a copyright Content ID match is either just bogus, it matches someone's original song, or it's from a party that has absolutely no right to be claiming these sorts of things, during the period that that company has their claim on the video, they get to keep all the revenue, regardless of whether or not the claim gets overturned. They get to keep all the revenue no matter what. So if a company was successfully able to hold on to their invalid claim for 30 days, they keep all the revenue for those 30 days. There's no reversal. There's no overturn of that. They just get to keep it. Okay, that's cool. And then last but not least, the biggest issue, I think, here is the fact that there is no punishment for excessive fraudulent claims on behalf of a copyright holder. So there are companies out there that it would seem to me just go out and mass claim things that might not have any sort of right to. But because there doesn't seem to be any recourse for those fraudulent actions, they can do it. They get to keep the revenue from those time periods that they own the video, and they don't seem to get punished. YouTubers who get 3 strikes have their channel terminated. These copyright holders, they can just do what they want. So that I think I've touched on every issue with Content ID that I wanted to touch on. It's just a system that really needs to be reworked. There is a better way to go about doing this. I have a suggestion. It's probably not. It probably has issues, but nonetheless, there is a better way of doing it. The way I see it in my head as being able to get improved is that you have Content ID scan in the background for all videos, but when it rings a match, it doesn't just auto-apply a claim to the video. It has to send a notification to the copyright party, and someone has to manually review it. There are thousands of videos out there that these companies may have to go through, but the burden of proof should be on them. So if they see that the video is infringing, then they can come back and they can suggest a revenue share versus it being all or nothing. So if they come back and suggest a certain revenue share on the video, then the person who uploaded it can either accept that, or they can say, no, I'm not going to accept that revenue share. This is why. And then the company can come back and say, well, you can either accept that revenue share, or you can remove your video, or we're going to file a DMCA takedown. I feel like that would be, while it probably has its flaws that someone could inform me of, I'm just thinking of this on the top of my head, it does seem like it would be an improvement over the current system. Just something where there has to be some sort of human review before something can be claimed. And then also some sort of system of checks and balances for copyright holders that are just repeatedly submitting fraudulent claims. So anyway, yeah, on top of all the Content ID stuff for people who are affiliates, I guess beginning in early next year, they're going to be subject to YouTube's monetization review. So if you're not a partner right now and you try to monetize your videos, basically every so often YouTube will come back to you and say, we think there may be something in here, it doesn't belong to you, please provide us a little description of your commercial rights to this. And so many affiliates are going to be subject to that as well, and it's completely going to change their workflow. And it's just another thing that, while no one really knows exactly how it's going to work, it's just something that's pretty nerve-wracking, and I'm really hoping that it doesn't turn out to be as bad as many people are speculating it will be. But at the same time, no one really knows until it happens. So hopefully things will keep on spinning just fine. And anyway, I just hope things will get changed for the better. So that's about it. Anyway, thanks for watching, dudes. And yeah, fingers crossed that things work out for everyone. For me, at least, I will keep on doing my thing and hope that the world keeps on spinning. So Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.